Imagine an empire at the peak of its glory, a civilization so powerful it seemed eternal. Now, imagine it all brought to ruin by a single, catastrophic decision. This is the story of the Aztec Empire and the choice that erased centuries of power. Welcome, history lovers, to our journey back in time. We're heading to the heart of ancient Mesoamerica, to a city built on a lake, a marvel of engineering and a testament to human ingenuity, Tenochtitlan. In the early 15th century, the people we know as the Aztecs, or the Mexica, began their incredible ascent. They forged a triple alliance with neighboring city-states, and from this pact, an empire was born. Picture this: a bustling metropolis of over 200,000 people, larger than any European city of its time. Towering pyramids, like the Templo Mayor, scraped the sky, dedicated to gods like Huitzilopochtli, the god of war, and Tlaloc, the god of rain. Intricate canals served as water highways, with canoes gliding through the city, carrying goods and people. Vast causeways, marvels of engineering, connected this island city to the mainland. The air hummed with the energy of a civilization at its zenith. The Aztec markets, or Tianquitli, were a sensory explosion. Merchants from across the empire displayed their wares: vibrant textiles, shimmering feathers from the quetzal bird, precious jade and turquoise, and of course, cacao beans, which were so valuable they were used as currency. Farmers brought in a bounty of crops from their ingenious floating gardens: the chinampas, corn, beans, squash, and tomatoes. This wasn't just trade. It was the lifeblood of an empire, a complex economic web that stretched for hundreds of miles. The Aztec society was highly structured. At the top was the emperor, the Huitlahuachtli, revered as a near-divine figure. Below him were the nobles and priests, who oversaw the religious ceremonies and managed the state's affairs. Then came the mighty warrior class, the foundation of Aztec military dominance. Eagle and jaguar warriors, clad in spectacular regalia, were feared and respected throughout the land. Their disciplined armies expanded the empire's borders, demanding tribute from conquered peoples, which in turn fueled the splendor of Tenochtitlan. Their understanding of the cosmos was profound. Aztec astronomers created precise calendars, more accurate than their European contemporaries. They tracked the movements of stars and planets, embedding this knowledge into their architecture and religious rituals. Their art, from monumental stone sculptures like the famous Sunstone to delicate pottery and codices, tells a story of a people deeply connected to their mythology and the natural world. They had a rich tradition of poetry and philosophy, contemplating the nature of existence and the transient beauty of life. This was a civilization of warriors, yes, but also of artists, thinkers, and builders. By the early 16th century, the Aztec Empire was at its absolute peak under the rule of Moctezuma II. He presided over a realm of immense wealth and influence, a complex tapestry of tribute-paying states. From his palace in Tenochtitlan, he commanded armies, received emissaries, and lived a life of unimaginable luxury. The empire seemed invincible, its foundations solid, its future secure. But on the horizon, a storm was gathering, one that no prophecy could truly prepare them for. In the year 1519, strange reports reached the emperor. Vessels as large as mountains had appeared on the coast, carrying men with skin as pale as the moon, hair like the sun, and beards on their faces. They rode upon strange deer-like creatures and wielded weapons that spat fire and thunder. This was the arrival of Hernan Cortes and his small band of Spanish conquistadors. Here is where history pivots. Here is the fatal mistake. Moctezuma was a deeply religious man, steeped in the prophecies of his people. One ancient legend spoke of the return of the feathered serpent god, Quetzalcoatl, who was said to have a pale complexion and would arrive from the east in the year 1 Reed. By a chilling coincidence, 1519 was the year 1 Reed in the Aztec calendar. Was Quartz Quetzalcoatl? The question plagued Moctezuma and his advisors. The Spaniards' advanced technology, their horses, their firearms, it all seemed otherworldly. Was this a divine visitation? Fear, uncertainty, and religious obligation tangled in the emperor's mind. Instead of meeting this potential threat with the full force of his empire's military might, he chose a different path. He chose diplomacy. He chose to welcome them. Moctezuma sent lavish gifts to the newcomers, gold, intricate featherwork, treasures beyond the Spaniards' wildest dreams. His hope was perhaps to placate these powerful beings, to show respect, or maybe even to bribe them into leaving. But the effect was the opposite. The sight of such immense wealth didn't satisfy Quartz. It ignited his ambition. It confirmed that he had found a land worth conquering. Despite warnings from some of his advisors, Moctezuma made the fateful decision to allow Quartz and his men to enter the heart of the empire, the magnificent city of Tenochtitlan. He welcomed them as honored guests, housed them in a palace, and showed them the splendors of his capital. For a moment, there was a tense, surreal peace. The Spaniards wandered the city in awe, while the Aztecs watched these strange visitors with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. But the welcome soon turned sour. Quartz, ever the opportunist, saw his chance. In a bold move, he took Moctezuma hostage within his own palace, turning the emperor into a puppet. The divine guest had become the jailer. The leader of the most powerful empire in the Americas was now a prisoner in his own home. The situation was a powder keg, and the spark was not long in coming. While Quartz was away, one of his lieutenants ordered a massacre of Aztec nobles who were celebrating a religious festival. The city exploded in fury. The Aztecs, who had shown restraint, now rose up against the invaders with a vengeance. When Quartz returned, he found Tenochtitlan in open revolt. The streets that had once welcomed him were now barricaded. The air, once filled with the sounds of the market, now echoed with war cries. In a desperate attempt to quell the uprising, Quartz forced Moctezuma to speak to his people from a balcony. But his authority was gone. The crowd, feeling betrayed, unleashed a volley of stones and arrows. Moctezuma was struck and died shortly after a tragic end for the emperor, who had gambled everything on a prophecy. His death marked the beginning of the end. The Spaniards, besieged and outnumbered, attempted a desperate nighttime escape, known as La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows. It was a disaster. Hundreds of conquistadors, weighed down by the gold they had looted, were cut down on the causeways or drowned in the lake. It was a victory for the Aztecs, but a costly one. Quartz, however, was not a man to accept defeat. He regrouped, gathered reinforcements from rival indigenous groups who resented Aztec rule, and returned with a vengeance. This time, there would be no welcome. This time, it was total war. What followed was a brutal siege that lasted for months. The Spaniards cut off the causeways, blocking food and fresh water from entering the city. They unleashed a terrifying, invisible killer, smallpox. The disease, to which the Aztecs had no immunity, ravaged the population, killing thousands and weakening the city's defenders far more effectively than any sword or cannon. Even so, the Aztecs, now led by the heroic Cuauhtémoc, fought with incredible courage. They fought for every street, every canal, every building. But against steel, gunpowder, and a devastating plague, their bravery was not enough. Slowly, inexorably, the city fell. The conquistadors advanced, leveling the magnificent buildings, filling the canals with rubble. The pyramids were desecrated, the temples burned. The once gleaming city of Tenochtitlan, the pride of the empire, was reduced to a smoldering ruin. On August 13, 1521, after a final desperate battle, Cuauhtémoc was captured, and the city surrendered. The Aztec Empire, a civilization that had flourished for centuries, was gone. In its place, a new world would be built, literally on its ashes. The Spanish would drain the lake and build Mexico City on the ruins of Tenochtitlan. It's a chilling reminder of how fragile even the mightiest empires can be. One decision, born of faith and fear, opened the door to destruction. The story of the Aztecs is not just a tale of conquest. It's a profound tragedy about a civilization that stood at the pinnacle of power, only to be undone by a catastrophic miscalculation. A world was lost, and history was forever changed. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the pivotal moments that have shaped our world. Let us know in the comments what piece of history you'd like us to explore next. Until then, stay curious.